Hey, welcome back. You know all that stuff we throw out, food scraps, yard trimmings? What if I told you we could turn all of that into one of the most valuable resources on the planet? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, worm farming. And trust me, it's a way bigger deal than you might think.
I know, it sounds a little bit out there, right? But this is the big question we're going to tackle. How on earth can this tiny, humble worm actually offer up real, powerful solutions to some of our planet's biggest, most tangled problems? Let's dig in and find out. So to start, we really need to get the big picture, the why. Why is this conversation about worms so important, so urgent right now? Well, the answer is in the sheer number of crises they can help us solve. Let's kick things off with a number that really frames the whole problem. We are losing 24 billion tons of fertile topsoil every single year. That's the very foundation for about 95% of all the food we grow on this planet. And it's just disappearing. That, my friends, is the soil crisis. But here's the thing. Where there's a crisis, there's also opportunity. The market for vermicompost, that's the amazing stuff worms produce, is already worth almost $2 billion. This really gets to the heart of it. We can turn a massive global problem into a profitable, planet-saving solution. And what's really incredible is that this goes way beyond just soil. Worms offer what the source material calls a vermi-solution. That's one solution for 5 huge interconnected problems. They regenerate soil, they keep organic waste out of our landfills, they can help purify water, create new economic opportunities, and even reconnect us to the land. It's this all-in-one approach that makes it so incredibly powerful.
Okay, so we've nailed down the why. We see the enormous potential here. That's our first big win. So now, let's build a bridge to the what. What exactly are we talking about when we say worm-powered solutions?
And that brings us right to section 2. Here, we're going to explore the surprisingly diverse and innovative world of what's called vermitechnology. And yeah, it's way more than just a compost bin in your backyard.
First up, a key term you gotta know, vermitechnology. It's the big umbrella term for everything that has to do with earthworms and the products they create. It comes from the Latin word vermis, which means worm. This is the official name for this entire fascinating field.
And just look at how broad this industry really is. It's not just about creating amazing compost. You've got vermifiltration, which uses worms to clean up wastewater with incredible efficiency. Then there's vermimeal, creating a sustainable, high-protein alternative to fish meal for animal feed. And believe it or not, these are just 3 of the 10 major pillars in this whole field.
All right, so now we know what this tech can do, which is amazing, but who's actually doing all the heavy lifting? Well, it's time we meet the star employee.
Which leads us to section 3. We're about to get really specific here, because if you want to run a successful operation, you absolutely have to hire the right candidate for the job. You know, a really common mistake is thinking that any old earthworm from your garden will work for a worm farm, but that's just not the case. For composting, you need a very specific type, epigeic worms. These are the surface dwellers. They stick around where the food is, right at the top, unlike their cousins who just want to burrow deep into the soil. And among all those surface dwellers, there is an undisputed champion, Eisenia fetida, also known as the red wiggler. I mean, check out these stats. This little guy eats half its body weight every single day. It's super adaptable, and its population can literally double every 2 to 3 months. This is your MVP, no question. So we've met our perfect employee. That's a huge step. The next logical question is, how do we build them the perfect workplace? One that's safe, productive, and keeps them happy. And that brings us to section 4, the real, practical nuts and bolts of building a farm that truly thrives. This is where we get our hands dirty with the operational side of things. Look, a successful worm farm really boils down to 5 golden rules. You just have to get these environmental factors right. Think of it like a simple checklist. Good bedding for their home, a balanced diet, plenty of oxygen so they can breathe, the right amount of moisture, you're aiming for something like a damp sponge, and of course the right temperature. Nail these 5 things and your little workforce is going to absolutely flourish. And hey, just like any other kind of farm, you've got to protect your livestock. We're talking about everything from birds and rodents to more sneaky threats, like invasive flatworms that actually hunt your worms. A solid protection strategy isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely non-negotiable to protect your investment. Okay, awesome. We've built the perfect farm. It's productive, it's protected, the whole system is working like a dream. Now for the big question. how do we turn all this ecological success into economic success? How do you make a business out of it? And for our final section, we're going to connect those last few dots from healthy soil all the way to healthy sales. It's time to talk about the business of worm farming.
So, the secret sauce to a really strong business model here, it's all about diversification. You're not just selling one thing. You can sell your core products, the worms themselves, and their castings. You can also offer services like waste management consulting. And then you have the value-added stuff like worm tea or custom potting mixes. There are so many ways to make it work. And the market is absolutely ready for it. Remember that $1.84 billion figure from earlier? Well, it's projected to more than double in the next 10 years, hitting almost $4 billion. This is not a niche hobby, folks. It is a booming global industry. But the future, it gets even bigger. The source material points to huge emerging opportunities in the green economy. Things like generating carbon credits for diverting waste and regenerating soil. This directly connects worm farming to the biggest climate solutions on the table. And that brings us full circle, right back to the beginning. We've seen the crises, and we've seen the vermi solutions. We've explored the tech, we've met the workers, we've designed the farm. So, the source material leaves us with this one simple but really powerful question. Now that you know all of this, what are you going to do?